Have you ever wondered why?
When?
How much?
What if?
Well, you're in luck, because you're listening to the Hypotheticast.
3 best buds.
On a mission.
To ask all the questions?
And get all the answers.
I was born with both guns blazing, and I do think I'm amazing. You got the dignity to feel a little about yourself. I don't care what your preacher says. I got my own vicious ways. Only got one commandment and it goes, I'm killing it. I'm killing it. I'm killing it.
Hey!
Wow, that was so fast. I'm so excited.
Yeah, we got to be ready to go.
Yeah, I'm primed. I'm like a car. I got a lot of gas in me. That's the way I'm like a car. How are you? My name's David.
My name is Emily.
My name is Mike, and we are the Hypotheticast.
That's true. The cast of the Hypotheticast. Hey, you know what? For some reason, I never really realized that works.
Cast can mean many things.
Yeah, it's true. We are also a part of the social cast, the Hypotheticast.
Or a cast that you might put on your arm and have your best friends at school sign, and that cute crush you have might sign it too.
I would like, do you like me, YN, circle 1, and then they would circle N, and then I would break the cast off and throw it in the garbage.
My arm was never broken. I was testing you.
Trick.
What are we going to talk about today?
Our theme is sound. Hi, what are your names?
We said them.
Are you sure?
You were just so impressed by your own
Definitely all said
introduction.
our
We
names.
definitely said our
My
names.
Hypotheticast just completely blew my mind.
You said your name.
Yeah.
Emily said
Okay,
her
good.
name.
Yeah.
I said my name, and then I said we are the Hypotheticast.
Yeah.
That's true. You did.
We can
Cool.
do it again.
Yeah, we can. Just for
Wait,
me.
here's what we're gonna
this
do.
round for me.
Thematically,
Yeah.
if you were going to make a sound that you wanted to be your name that's not your name,
Ooh, yeah,
what
that's
would
good.
your sound
Oh,
be?
yeah.
shoot.
What would your signature sound be?
I think we all know what mine would be.
Bazinga?
Yeah, Bazinga, Young Sheldon.
That's offensive.
It's offensive.
I hate it.
Old Sheldon. It's me, Old Sheldon.
Bazinga. Wait, does he say that on the
makes me
show?
so
I don't want to
angry.
talk any more about
I
this.
think when
Never
you push his
mind.
belly button, it says
Ew.
it like the Pillsbury Doughboy.
No. Okay, make your sound.
Big Bang Theory. All right, Emily,
No,
your
You
turn.
ruined this game by bringing that up.
I did.
I can't play this because it reminds me of theater games, like where you stand in a circle and you make a sound and make a weird body movement, and then everybody has to. And I'm always like, I'm sorry.
All right, fine. I would honestly, it would be wah. That would be
Yeah.
me, because that encompasses.
I
who
hear
I
that
am.
noise coming from your
Sure.
room multiple
Right.
times a day.
It's actually my alarm in the morning. It's a recording of me going.
Oh, you recorded yourself?
Yeah.
That's good.
Mine would be Mariah Carey singing "Sweet, Sweet Fantasy Baby."
Oh,
And I-
Yes, like so when everybody
Yes.
said like "Hey," and then open their mouth, it would be
And it
Mariah
takes
Carey
so
singing
long.
that. Yeah.
It's like a 5-second clip that they
Some
can't
people have
not
long
say.
names.
Some people have long names.
What can I say? It feels right to me.
What would your driver's license say? Do you think?
it would be musical.
It would be-
You would press
It'd be
it.
a button.
And
There's a
it would
blank
also
where the
be
name
there
is.
would be like a hologram on it that is Mariah Carey from that music video.
Nice.
Mine would be Henry Mancini's Baby Elephant Walk.
The whole song. Like it's like 5 minutes.
That's really good.
Or maybe just that little clip.
Yeah, that's the
'cause
most famous part of
yeah.
it. I mean, really, I think mostly the song is just repeating that.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
it's just fun.
This is going to be hard. Okay, so we're doing our theme is sound. I feel like it's going to be a challenge not to make it all about music.
I know. Well, the
we-
nice thing is we got plenty
Good,
of
of
would you
ideas.
rathers that have nothing to
Okay.
do with music.
And David, why are we doing sound as a theme?
That's a great question, Emily. It's because we're doing our first series that we've ever done. Except for maybe if you include the month-long Halloween extravaganza that we do every year and will continue to do every year
That's a
because
holiday.
it's important. That's just
Yeah,
a
that's
long
different.
holiday celebration. The next 5 regular episodes of the Hypotheticast will be about the senses. Whee! Sound, sight, touch, taste, and what's the other one?
The Sixth Sense.
I wanted to see if
Yeah.
you could get it.
I actually feel like
Ghosts.
did I gas? Is it farts? Is it a ghost?
What did you say? Sound, sight. Did you say sense is a sense? Sound, sight, sense.
Sound, sight, sense.
Touch.
Touch and amount of money that
You
you
missed
have.
Smell.
Smell is what you
Scent-
missed.
no,
You
scent-
said
scent
taste.
is smell.
Oh, you're right. Damn it.
Taste.
Sound,
Taste.
There it is.
Hearing?
That sweet, sweet taste.
It's because you said like scent instead of like you said the thing instead of the scent.
So we
Hearing,
got
seeing,
smelling,
Smelling.
eating, and pooping.
tasting, and touching.
Touching.
Yeah.
All right, so the 5 senses. That's what we're doing. They are hearing, smelling, seeing, tasting, and touching.
I make my own sound effects a lot, like unconsciously. Like if I open a door, I'm like, bing, like victory. I've done it. Like it gives me a great sense of satisfaction.
Yeah.
I remember I sat next to a guy in like first grade who did that. His name was Mitchell.
Ooh, Mitchell.
He was gangly and nerdy. And he sat on one side, and this girl named Joelle, who had a crush on him, sat on my other side. In the beginning of the year, I was so annoyed with Mitchell's sound effects. But then by the end of the year, I was like, oh, Mitchell. I think maybe I started to see him through Joelle's eyes a little bit. I didn't have a crush on him, but I was like,
You
we're
just
all just
appreciated it.
people.
Yeah, we're all just making sound effects.
Making it work. And that's the way you make it work, Mitchell.
Yeah.
So our first sense theme is sound. But before we get to that, we have a sponsor.
It is Umbrella Collective's production of Velvet Swing, playing at Bryant Lake Bowl in Minneapolis through April 27th. Velvet Swing is a collaborative show made by all women about Evelyn Nesbit, who's a super interesting figure in American history. You should totally Google her and read a little bit about her. Before or after you go and see this show, I saw it. I had a really good time. It was super fun and unexpected and a very like non-stuffy theater experience, which I appreciate as someone who sees a lot of plays and wants them to be fun and loose and entertaining and not always super serious. And that is definitely the case with this production. In the City Pages review, they describe the show as a tight and darkly entertaining show. For all its intellectual heft, Velvet Swing is also a lot of fun, and most of all, the show succeeds on the strength of its spirited and supportive ensemble. I fully agree with all of those statements. In conclusion, listeners, if you are around Minneapolis, I highly recommend that you take one of the next couple of weekends and go see Velvet Swing at Bryant Lake Bowl, playing through April 27th. Make good choices.
What's the first segment on the Hypotheticast?
Our first segment is Would You Rather? It's a game we made up where we are forced to choose between 2 or more deceptively simple options. We are forced by me. Our first listener submitted question comes from Joe Holm. Would you rather be able to see sound or smell sound? To start with a real foundation level basic one. See it or smell it? What do you think?
See.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
It'd be pretty cool to be able to see where sound is coming from.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
I also, one of the things
there.
I like about the sense of sight is that you can choose not to
You can
participate.
close your eyes.
Scent is not that way.
Hard to get away from.
Find
It's
it
tough.
offensive.
I mean, you can like plug up your nose, but then you can't breathe good.
Yeah.
And it still like gets in through your mouth.
Right.
yeah,
And like,
and
you
your
know,
ears
you can like
sometimes,
put
too.
your shirt over your nose, but then you have to do that. And that means you can't do something with both your hands.
But you get to smell your new deodorant, which smells like sweet pea
I
and
usually
violet.
smell
So,
good. So
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
true.
Me too.
I
I am
think-
obsessed with this new deodorant that I got, so that would be just fine.
Sweet pea and violet.
Sweet pea and violet,
Well,
baby.
We're
Man,
not
I
doing
smell like a little
scents.
baby.
We're
It's
not doing
amazing. Yeah,
scents.
next time, I'm just gonna rail on about that deodorant. It's amazing.
Well, the
Go ahead,
interesting
Mike.
thing about this question is that it's real.
It's so
like,
real.
I know I researched in 5th grade. I found out about
Synesthesia.
synesthesia and real people in the real world can do these things. They can, from what I understand, it's not set. Like, I mean, it's different for everybody.
It's different
but they
scent
can-
combination or
they'll-
different sense combinations.
Yeah, they'll literally be like, I can see sounds or I can hear smells. I don't remember a description of them seeing a sound.
Yeah.
But I do think it does happen. Like, I think
I feel like I've heard people with synesthesia talking about how songs will have colors. I think a really common synesthesia is colors
Yes,
associated with
correct.
non-visual
Right.
things.
Okay.
Like words or ideas or seasons or whatever.
Right. So it's not like echolocation where they're actually experiencing the sound wave.
No, it's just
visually
that
or
in their
whatever.
minds there are pairings of senses that aren't normally associated.
Cool.
They'll be like, "Oh yeah, this song is purple," and everybody else is like, "What?"
Yeah.
And they're like, "Yeah."
But this is blue by Eiffel 65. What do you mean?
Yeah, I think seeing would be better because smelling is scary to me.
Smelling is scary. You're absolutely right. I am reminded very fondly, and I think Joe will also appreciate this, of the best episode of the Magic School Bus ever made, where they went to a weird haunted castle for some reason. It was very strange.
For science.
And they were able to, they had these goggles they could put on and see sound waves. Ooh. And they were trying to track down like where this creepy sound was coming from. There was somebody playing an organ very scarily, and the sound waves were bouncing around corners and they could see them, and sometimes they were like spread out, and that would mean it was a lower sound. And it taught me about sound waves, but it also looked so cool, and it was a haunted house, and I just love that episode, so I want to be on that episode of the Magic School Bus and see sound.
Okay, what's another question?
What's another question? This next question comes from Rainey Buckley. Would you rather have all cats sound like a tea kettle whistle when they meow, or a dog sound like shotguns when they bark?
Dogs sound like shotguns because I'm a cat person. I plan on having a cat for most of my life, if not all of the rest of my life. Sure. And I love their little meows.
So
and
cute.
all the little sounds they can make, even though sometimes my cat is very shrill and annoying at inopportune times. Yeah. Most of the time it's cute. And like a tea kettle would be shrill and annoying all the time.
Yeah, every meow. Dang.
Dogs.
Shotguns though.
So
that's so
the
loud.
thing that is loud, and the thing that sucks about that is that like I still have to hear dogs because people put them outside.
They put them out there for everyone.
And that would be very alarming to be like, is it a dog or a gun?
Yeah, I think the only reason to choose that one is if you want to do shotgun crime. Which like I don't, so
or not crime,
or just shoot a shotgun without alarming the neighbors. Yeah. I feel like dogs would scare each other. That's what would be so weird. It's like a lot of dogs have very sensitive, brains to loud noise.
But if they just knew that that's what their kind sounded
they would
like,
figure it out.
Yeah, they'd figure it out. That's true. They'd be like, "Woo, shotgun!"
But it'd be like how one dog will start howling and the other ones will. It would just get
a military funeral out there. Is that what they do?
Maybe actually though,
rifles.
Maybe this would just mean that dog owners needed to be a little bit more on top of things. I'm sorry. I don't mean to hate.
No,
here's actually the thing.
What do you mean, Emily?
Just like a regular dog bark is actually not that bad. And if it is managed, so like my neighbors have a little dog, and he's super cute, and he's small, so it is like a yippee or bark, but he's not, they don't like leave him chained up outside for hours. Right. So I don't mind like hearing that sound. But in my old apartment, the duplex that I used to live in, a few doors down, there was this older woman who had two yippy, like crazy yippy little dogs. And what would happen was she had a fence. So people would walk by and the dogs would go crazy and yip and bark and like follow the person as they walked by. But then they would bump into each other and then they would just attack each other with a ferocity that sounded like when we first moved there, I was like, those dogs are murdering each other. And then I just realized that I was just going to have to hear that sound all the time.
Are little dogs just like amoebas? Like, do they even know what they're doing?
I don't think
because it seems like they're just kind of like flopping around barking, and then they're like, "Oh, something else. Well, let me bark at this
nervous.
now." Like,
so nervous.
Poor little things.
Do you think in this world that shotguns would sound like dogs barking?
Yeah. And tea kettles would sound like little meows. Like, oh, my tea's done. It'd be a lot harder to tell when tea was done.
Yeah,
kind of fun.
But that would be useful because otherwise you wouldn't know if it was a shotgun or a dog, and you wouldn't know whether it was a tea kettle or a cat. If you had a tea kettle that whistled, you might be like, oh, my cat's just being annoying again, and then all your water boils up. That's expensive.
The worst.
Yeah. I want dogs to sound like shotguns for the same reason that Emily does, so that we can get some regulation going on. These dogs are out of control.
I do think it's one of those things where people who own loud dogs, you just get used to it, so you tune it out.
Yep. But I don't tune it out.
And then all their neighbors are like, excuse me.
There's no such thing as a loud cat. That's not true.
Sorry,
somebody's going to
owners.
tell me that that's not true.
They're just so little. They can't make as big a noise.
If I heard a cat meow from across the street, I would be like, oh, excuse me.
Quick memory.
Quick memory, yes. My favorite game.
My aunt works for Scholastic Publishing, and a couple summers when I was in high school, I got to go and like intern in heavy quotes because it wasn't, I think I maybe talked about this before.
Heavy quotes.
It wasn't like a strenuous internship, but it was super fun. But I slept in there. They had like a half story, like kind of attic space that was converted into a little bedroom. And one of the first nights I was there, I heard cats getting it on.
Oh no.
Outside the window.
What does that sound like?
You've never heard it?
No, I don't listen to cat porn.
You guys. No, I mean, I've heard it since then. It is awful. It sounds like cats being slowly murdered.
Oh, no. Are you sure that's not what it was?
I'm positive because I explained it to someone. I don't even remember where. And they were like, that was two cats.
Oh, no.
Banging.
Wow. Do you think cats think we sound like that? Are they like, are those humans in pain? Are they dying?
Probably. But they don't care, so.
Right, yeah. They're just like, are they going to feed me?
They're like, oh,
we good.
Guess maybe they're dying. No, it's an atrocious sound. And just because I feel like as a cat owner, you should know. You should Google it later and listen.
I should know. I don't want to think about Joan doing that. I think that's more disturbing to me than my parents having sex.
She's kind of like your mom.
Let Joan free.
No. This question comes from Stephanie Corthus. Would you rather always hear whispers that you can't quite understand or hear random, terrifying screams once a day? No one else can hear either.
Are the whispers once a day?
I interpreted that as just all the time.
You can't quite understand. Yeah, it sounds like it's just kind of constantly.
The whispers are constant.
Yeah. You say, oh, someone's always, it's like tinnitus. You just have a ringing, but instead of ringing, it's whispers.
If that is how we interpret it, I'm going with the screams.
Okay.
Because once a day, disturbing, distracting.
Yeah, shocking.
Although I do feel like you would kind of get used to it, but nonstop anything, especially whispers, because I feel like it would be that thing where you'd be like, you'd think you could hear what they were, you'd try to interpret it and you could never quite. That would be really maddening. I feel like.
Very.
I think I would like the whispers because the screams, it would be like, again, like with the dog shotguns, it would be hard to know if it was real or not.
Oh yeah, that's true.
True.
Yeah,
and it would be like the whispers, even if I did like stumble upon some actual whispering, that doesn't usually signify a bad thing. But if I heard screams, I'd always be like, do I need to go call the cops or not? Is that just me or is it a real one?
Yeah, that would sound.
I wouldn't know.
You could get used to the whispers, I think.
I think I would get used to them. Maybe they'd be nice.
Fun fact that I just learned. People who suffer from schizophrenia hear voices. That's like they have like auditory hallucinations. Not all of them, but some of them do. Somewhere on the internet, I just saw someone who asked, do people who are deaf with schizophrenia
that's a good question.
experience anything like that? And there were multiple people that said that they see disembodied hands signing.
Whoa, what?
Or that there have been accounts of that.
God, the brain is so weird.
Isn't that crazy?
What are we doing? Wow. Well, I'm done.
You're done?
Let's quit.
Been good.
Wait, which one do you want?
I want whispers because I don't want to. I want both. I want screams constantly.
Screams.
I want
whispers.
somebody to be yelling into my ear 24/7. Basically, I have 93X playing all the time.
Nice.
So I want the whispers because I don't want that scream to wake me up in the middle of the night. That sounds horrible. There are some people that have what is it called, like exploding head syndrome? Does that sound like something that you've heard of before? I don't remember. It's something that sounds really, really aggressive, and is actually just that like when you're going to sleep, you hear this really loud like burst of noise, and it kind of prevents you from sleeping or resting. It sounds terrible. Like there's nothing you can do, and you know it's not real, but you can't get away from it. That's what this would be like, maybe. No, thank you, Scrubs. Bring on the whispers. Let's do one last one. John Bliss asks, would you rather have the pitch of your voice shifted half a step higher or half a step lower?
Lower.
Me too. Lower. I just kind of want to lean into how low my voice can be. I want to see.
That's a really interesting question.
Thanks.
I think I would also go with lower. And I think it is because I believe that the world has more respect for people with lower tone, with like lower pitched voices. And that sucks. I appreciate when I'm listening to podcasts in the shower that I can hear the female voices and not the male voices.
Oh, that's true.
Oh,
that's
never
true.
listen to 99% Invisible in the shower. Roman Mars is all
he like has the same tone as the shower.
It's just like deep throat voice, and you can't hear it at all. It's just gone. It's completely gone. Don't listen to him at all.
Oh my gosh!
You know what? Do listen to Roman Mars, but only not when you're not showering.
Yeah.
Get clean and then
listen. Then you'll be worthy.
Worthy. You must be clean to hear his beautiful Martian voice.
This next segment is called The Meat. We put it in the middle of our episode like you would put meat in a sandwich.
That's true.
And also, it usually involves a slightly meatier discussion.
Num, num, num.
I'm the meat handler this week, and what I would like to propose is, what if we could manipulate and program our brains to hear sounds in specific ways, much like we can alter sounds digitally after recording them. But this would be something that you would program into your brain, and then in real time you would hear things a certain way. Some examples could be, you could mute certain songs if you are sick of them.
Yes.
You could change certain people's voices to sound silly. You could make them sound like little British babies. You could make them sound like the Adults on the Peanuts specials.
British or not?
I think they're American.
Is there a British Peanuts?
No.
Be pretty good. Charlie Brown. Hello, Charlie. My name's Linus.
Not. But good idea,
It's pretty
David.
good.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna go write that pilot. You guys have fun with the rest of the
Cool.
show.
Like how America took The Office.
Yeah.
We
I'm
could
gonna
let
make
them take.
British Charlie Brown.
You could also, what else could you do? You could auto-tune things. You could make it so certain instruments sounded like other instruments.
Sure.
You could have like white noise programmed to enter during certain parts of your day.
Yeah, cool.
So many things you could do. So first of all, what would you do if you had this ability? And second of all, can you think of some good things, bad things? What would some consequences be?
Lots of consequences. Well, I think the one that you said somewhere in the middle of there involving muting certain people or certain songs, that's something that a lot of people would use. I assume this is something everyone can do. Is that true? Or is it just me that
I
has
don't
been
know.
given this power?
Let's say it's just you.
Okay, that seems easier.
Because I feel like society would be very altered
different.
if we could all do that.
I have this power.
Yes.
And I can decide what I hear and how I hear it. Wow. One thing that I think about a lot, because I've always been a renter, is the sound level that travels between different apartments, and how I am always a little bit hesitant to turn up music past a certain point because I'm worried about other tenants in the building, depending on if it's an apartment building or a duplex or even roommates that might be in other rooms. It's like, oh, I want to be careful and not do that. So if I could just turn it up in my head, like I'm basically always wearing headphones, I can sort of boost a signal just to me so that I can have the TV volume relatively low, but still be able to sit in the room and feel like it's a theater experience. That sounds like a great benefit. Just straight up, no problem. Love it.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Also, I think I would love to apply autotune. Would be fun to autotune people's voices because people do speak in melody a lot of the time anyway. Like, hey, how's it going? Like, if you just autotune that a little bit, it just sounds like a song. But sometimes people just talk like that.
You could just like program a playlist into your day and be like, these are the songs that I want all the people talking around me to actually be singing while they're talking.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Do you remember that commercial where everything was a song? And it was, no, it wasn't a song. It was like...
Was it the one with the frogs?
No, not...
Oh, God.
I think that's two different commercials. The Budweiser frogs and the Budweiser What's Up are different annoying things.
Yeah, and then the horse says, what's up?
Neither of which I'm referring to right now.
Well, that was the only commercial I remember.
It was a car commercial. I don't remember what kind of car.
Okay.
But it was like the windshield wiper blades made a sound.
That's cool.
And then all the things on the street made sounds, and it all blended together
Sounds
to make
awesome.
a nice sound.
Yeah.
It was a good commercial. Some of you probably know what I'm talking about, but that would be really fun.
To make everything sound melodic and like it fits together.
Not to the realm of like making it actually sound like music notes, but just like making the rhythms of life kind of like fit together. One of my favorite moments in the movie Who Framed Roger Rabbit is when they're trying to find Roger Rabbit, and he's hiding in this like secret room of this speakeasy type place.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And the evil weasel that's trying to get him
Evil
is
weasel.
going around the room and tapping out like the first few beats of shaving a haircut. And he's like, and he like keeps doing it. And then it cuts to Roger Rabbit and he is like going nuts because he like really wants to finish it, but he can't. Yeah. And then like finally he just bursts out with it, which is just a beautiful movie. I think I'm going to watch that movie tonight. I love that movie. But anyway, like I do feel like it's so satisfying to have a have things fit together in a rhythm like that.
Yeah.
And you could do that with that. I mean,
do it.
does raise an interesting question about the nature of this power, which is, I guess you're changing the volume and pitch, but that would actually change the rhythm, which would change like the speed at which life is happening. Or I guess maybe the way you're hearing
Yeah,
it.
I
The
think it's
sound
your
waves
perception.
being
Right.
Yeah.
things are not actually moving faster or slower, but like maybe the sound waves reaching your eardrum.
Yeah.
Then
are
you're
different.
processing them. You have little
Which
built-in
again
compressors
is
in
something
your
that could be
ears.
a consequence. So like,
Yeah.
you know, in small examples, that wouldn't be that big of a deal if your windshield wipers just like you're hearing them at a different beat, you know.
Right, that's
but
fine.
if you think about it, like if you can control something like that, you could delay the sound of something that is actually important for you to hear, like a car horn.
Oh, sure.
As a car speeds towards you.
Because your brain's AI said, car
Yeah.
horn needs to come in on beat 1, not
Right.
beat 3. And then it's too delayed and you get hit by a car. Uh-oh. Rips. They probably put a kibosh on driving around with that power, just in case.
Put the old kibosh
Sure.
on it.
Yeah. No thanks.
I also want to do one thing that I would like pressing random on a CD player. Not that that's a thing anymore. Oh, I guess on a Spotify
Yeah, shuffle playlist.
Yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah.
Kids know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about.
Hey,
This is
kids.
relatable content. When you hit shuffle on your Spotify playlist and a song that you really like comes up and you're surprised by it,
Yeah.
I think it would be fun to have like a special voice that you would be like, okay, power, randomly assign this to someone in this city. Or someone not in the world, because that would be impossible.
You never find them.
But like a fun like thing to try to find every day, or maybe
A little
every
scavenger hunt.
month. Yeah, I'd be like, who's gonna have the special voice today?
Yeah. What do you think of your special voice?
I think it would sound like coins, like treasure coins.
Oh, like falling out of their mouth. That's cool.
Like ding 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 ding. Maybe like a Price is Right,
like the little, or like a Mario
winning.
ding, ding, ding sort of sound.
Like,
that coin sound is
yeah,
nice.
so then you find them, and then they don't actually know they sound like that. So it's really just for you to be like, I did it.
I
Like,
would
there's
say-
no actual prize.
That definitely brings up one of the points is that I would probably do a lot of goofy stuff like that too with people's voices.
One of the things I really want to do with this power is program the song Yakety Sax to play during like a lot of things, because I think that song is hilarious, and I think just like adding it to the background of anything makes it funnier. Especially if it's something that is like fast paced, obviously, like putting it in the background of someone just standing there and talking isn't as much.
There's a certain anti-joke appeal to that.
Yeah, that would then that would make me take all of those things, however I programmed it, less seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like you may want to just not do that to people that you need to take seriously then.
Yeah.
When I know that it might be a serious environment, maybe just turn off the voice filter. That's
It
okay.
feels a little disrespectful to
It feels
those
like not
people, because
listening. Yeah.
you're not really hearing them, you know.
Yeah, in the same vein as turning up a TV in my head, I would love to turn down background sounds if I don't want to hear them. Like a lot of people wear noise isolating headphones and things to like sort of create space where they cannot afford their own. And I would love to just be able to say, oh no, just kidding. I'm only hearing the sounds I want to hear, and all other background noise is gone. That could have negative side effects like a fire alarm going off and me not hearing it, etc., etc. Roommate crying out in the night saying, David, please help. There's somebody in here and it's not me.
You would tune that out.
Yeah, I would tune
You're
that out.
sick of me saying that.
Yeah, it's because every night it's just that scream.
And you're like, Mike, that's a mirror.
Mike, it's a mirror.
There's no one in there.
Don't be scared.
It's just your evil reflection.
Yeah.
I do think it would, I don't know if this is positive or negative. I think it's just an interesting side effect is that you would realize how many sounds you're hearing all the time.
Yeah.
I remember when I was touring a Hollywood sound designer's studio one time, back when I lived in Hollywood. I did.
I was.
There's a sound they put in, I think before all the other sounds, when they're making the sound of a room, there's a sound that he just called room sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you watch a poorly sound edited movie and they don't use sounds correctly, it's very noticeable.
Yep.
But there's a sound of a room, and it's not even just like a vent or like outdoor noise. It's just like the sound of existing in a room, which is really weird. I don't even know exactly where those sounds are coming from, but when he played it, it was like, oh yeah, that's a sound that you just hear constantly.
Ambient sound. And that's one of the things that's missing from something we talked about pre-show, the world's quietest room, which exists in South Minneapolis. Hopefully they'll sponsor us next episode so we can talk about it more. That place, there is not that room sound that we have come to know is everywhere. Like, I think you're absolutely right, Mike. If I chose to only listen to like the music in my headphones, I would realize that I was actually cutting out way more sound than I thought I actually.
You're not just cutting out like traffic sounds and sirens
or
and
like
stuff.
the woodpecker that lives in the tree over there that I keep hearing. Good Lord.
Yeah, it's a weird noise.
It's getting its paper. Leave it alone.
It's getting its paper. What is
By
paper?
I mean bugs.
It's paper. Hey, you know, bugs are one man's bugs is another man's paper. That's what I always say. I think that woodpecker, sometimes when it makes it sound, when it's going in there to get that paper, it sounds like an old man wheezing. It's very confusing to me. Like something about the way it's filtered through the glass in our house.
So weird.
I hear it and it sounds like someone going, and I'm like, oh, what the hell? There's a ghost horse outside our house.
Could it be?
Could it be?
I just thought of something that I would definitely do.
Okay.
And I'm going to form it. I'm going to say it in the form of a PSA.
Petty bullshit.
Actually, this is fully petty bullshit. But no, it's not because I have a real issue with it. I think it's a safety thing. And here's what it is.
Okay.
Dear radio journalists and producers of radio journalism, I love you so much. I love listening to NPR and things like it.
Yes.
It's my favorite way to consume news. I think you're doing beautiful work. You opened my mind to the world. Here's a thought, though. There are many ways to give us audio cues that you are in a busy foreign city that aren't blaring car horns, because most of the time when I'm listening, I'm in a fucking car.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I don't like driving. I have major driving anxiety. And it's impossible to tell if I'm actually being honked at by some psychopath or someone whose brakes have been cut or something like that.
Yeah.
Or if you're just trying to be like, we're in a very busy city.
Yeah.
Stop it. Just any other sound. I mean, I would even rather them do like sirens than like the
Which
like
is
it's
still
always
not
like
a great idea.
Beep 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 beep. Like it's
Beep, beep, beep,
never
honk, honk,
it's
whoosh,
never
whoosh.
like just one simple honking noise. It's like it's so aggressive, and I feel like it's lazy, and I'm over it, and I would mute that shit.
Too. The cue often is just like it's not like something driving past the microphone is very abrupt because they want to teleport you there.
Yes, they want to create the soundscape of the story, and I totally understand that, and I think it's utilized in like beautiful way. Like I love when they do that for stories because it does like create a space for you. But the car horn has got to go.
If I remember correctly, in my past life where I studied broadcasting, I remember the FCC actually regulates that, I think.
Yeah.
Really?
And I feel like I remember it actually being illegal to have sirens or distracting noises like that on your broadcast. But I have heard just recently, this last week, I think I heard a siren on a ad, and I was like, oh, I guess this is
FCC is getting a little lazy on the job.
I feel like there's some sort of regulation for that, but apparently, because I have heard it.
It isn't illegal, necessarily. According to the FCC, broadcasters should be aware of possible adverse consequences of the use of sirens and other alarming sound effects.
It'd be nice to just filter it when you're in a car. Like it's a lot like some cars have different EQs because certain frequencies are harder to hear in cars. Just do that. Just like anytime there's a sound effect that is another car, you just cut it out.
Yeah.
And instead play what we are about to create for you, NPR. We are going to make a very obviously not other cars soundscape for you.
Oh, that's a perfect idea.
I've got whoosh, 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 city, 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 whoosh, whoosh, whoosh,
okay.
whoosh. This is the bass.
I'm going to add.
So you need to add some things over the top. Whoosh,
I'm
whoosh,
driving
city,
my car.
city.
Watch out.
Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh,
Here I come.
City, city, whoosh, city,
Weather
city,
noises,
whoosh,
weather
city,
noises,
whoosh, whoosh,
lightning,
Children
city,
playing.
New York.
Chains rattling,
Broken dreams, bat, 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 bat.
Bike whistle, or what are they? Bikes don't have whistles. What do they have?
Bike
Bells.
whistle. And you're welcome, NPR.
The next segment on the Hypotheticast is called Would You Blanket?
Yes.
What's in that blank, you may ask? Why, anything could be. This is a game where we choose one of us here, and then the other two of us, present a scenario, which we fill in that blank with a verb like, would you kiss it? Would you eat it?
Yeah.
Would you be friends with it?
Yeah.
And then we go back and forth, making that scenario more or less appealing until we achieve some sort of equilibrium or just get really weird with it. I've come up with a scenario, and I believe Emily is our participant. And so David and I will go back and forth, and this is about sound. let me paint you a picture, and then we will find out what it has to do with sound.
Yes, paint.
All right. So Emily, you're at home, just chilling on the couch, and you hear a helicopter land on your front lawn.
Whoa.
Yeah, this is a big deal.
Don't have a very big front lawn, but okay.
And
small helicopter.
You hear a knock at your door, and you're like, "Hey, what's up?" Turns out it's the secret military. But they're here to talk to you because they've personally, a man talks to you. It's
my least favorite.
A man and a woman,
okay.
we'll say,
Thank
just
you.
to make it not as military as it usually is.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Usually it's just a big rough man. We'll say it's a man and a woman who they seem friendly enough, but they're like, Emily, we've selected you for a special program that we have going on. We're testing out a new weapon that we want to use. He takes out a briefcase that has a slickly produced video display on it explaining what this weapon is. This weapon is something that utilizes the brown note.
Oh, no. Oh, no. How did I not see this coming? Of course. Okay, which is...
So I'm going to just read the description from Wikipedia. It's a hypothetical infrasonic frequency that would cause humans to lose control of their bowels due to resonance.
Due to resonance?
Resonance. They have a select group of people they've specially selected, and they want... Now, here's the deal. They want this to replace like lethal weapons in the battlefield and in many ways. So they really want to make it work, but they need your help to participate in the tests. Would you listen to it?
Just listen to it.
Yeah, you have to go to their special testing facility and listen to the brown note weapon.
Oh, so they're just sort of like crowdsourcing. Like they need people to come in and listen to
It's like
this.
a clinical trial.
It's like a clinical trial of this weapon, the brown note bomb.
The Charlie Brown note.
No.
Hard
Gonna
no.
go with no.
It's a hard no for Emily on that.
I prefer to have somewhat of an average amount of control over that function of my body.
Okay. All right, fair enough.
I'm just gonna tweak it a little bit. So the video continues. You protest like right away when it says brown note. You're like, no, thank you, bye. And then the video continues. Due to the testing nature of this experimental procedure, you will, by subjecting yourself to this test, gain perfect control over your bowel region. Like superhuman control. Like you can hold it for way longer and expel more waste. You become much more efficient. But you do have to subject yourself to the brown note once, and then you'll become a little bit better at pooping for the rest of your life, including until you die. So that means no adult diapers for Emily.
I feel like that is tempting, but I feel a little suspicious of that claim. If they're doing clinical trials on this, how can they guarantee that as a side effect?
Because the person that invented it tried it on themselves, and they have always been, they'd be able to poop way better now.
Well, that's not a helpful
There's a little testimonial from that person.
sample
She
study.
actually shows up and she's like, I poop great now. It's just that one person.
That is tempting because that is a great skill, especially
it's a great
I
skill.
hear as you age. But that's not, I don't feel convinced enough by that evidence to trust, first of all, that would actually be the case, and second of all, that there wouldn't be other less pleasant side effects / also just experiencing that still sounds like something I do not want to do.
Okay, so you're still not on board with the brown note bomb.
The B&B. The B&B. Oh no.
The two military representatives, they offer you a free ride in the helicopter, which I'm just going to say you do accept. They just give you a ride around the neighborhood just so you can see your house from up above. But they have the conversation with you and explain further, this technology is in its final testing stages, and they really need your help because once they are able to prove that it works to other, we'll say higher up government officials, the plan is to replace all lethal weapons used by police and most military. We'll say all military, like they're not going to have guns. They're going to have this thing which will make criminals poop their pants instead of like actually killing them and stuff. So it will, like a lot of the like bad stuff that happens because of people having guns that maybe they didn't need guns for, they're going to replace it with a portable version of this weapon. And so they really need to prove that it's effective, and they just really need this last run of participants to help, and that you could help with that.
You can help.
Replacing lethal weapons, getting them out of the hands of the military and law enforcement, that is appealing. and very tempting.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. I like that. However, if gun control in general is still as messed up as it is, I don't actually think that the number of guns that doesn't change the amount of just like citizens who have them.
Okay.
And I'm not a proponent of police shooting anybody ever, if I'm being really honest.
Yeah.
But if like a lot of people still have guns and law enforcement doesn't, that's just not enough for me to say yes. I would be like, cool idea, I guess.
Right.
But you're going to have to find someone else to help you do that.
Yeah. Cool. So first of all, I have a query. Why would I stop robbing a bank if I had $1 million in my hand and then I pooped myself?
It's embarrassing.
I would still just run with that $1 million. Like, that's not going to stop me.
It's harder to run.
It is embarring. It would be harder. Well, I don't.
And you
even
could
know.
track them easier.
That's true. You could track them. God.
What I honestly, this is really graphic, and I hate that I'm even going to say this, but what I was imagining is that it is like an incapacitating
explosive.
Like it is like painful, violent,
Yikes.
incapacitating.
You feel
Yikes.
intense nausea
Right,
too.
you
That's
just-
actually part of the brown note.
yeah,
I didn't
part
get
of the
into the
brown note.
lore behind it.
Sure. You're still in the helicopter circling your house. It looks very nice from above. You've done a lot of good work on the roof since you moved in.
Really haven't.
And, no, but you have it in this scenario.
Okay.
You and Tanner have really been busy. You're circling your house, and these military representatives say, okay, this has happened with a lot of people. Nobody wants to test this thing that makes you shit yourself. Who would have thought? So you said, no, that's fine. We're ready to start rolling out our bigger rewards program and really sweeten that toilet. I was going to say pot, but it makes more sense to call it a toilet.
Sure.
So if you help them test this weapon, they will give you access to one amazing, like sharper image level, hundreds of dollars cool gadget thing a year for free. Because they test all sorts of amazing stuff, like beds that have fridges in the bottom of them, or like really cool remotes that you can install in your head to turn on and off the lights in your house, and like just the wildest stuff. You will get access to that. Like you can be a first adopter of that for free in the future. You get like a little VIP card that you just get to show once a year. You get to go into their weird showroom, pick out a thing, and it's free, and you get a really cool piece of technology.
I feel like a lot of this is starting to feel like how people who are running scams try to loop you into things. Like by being like, but you'll get this great discount on this thing that kind of sounds cool, but also
like
is not
vague.
something you're actually interested in. I'm just not the target market for those things. Like if you're going to give me a free thing once a year that's worth hundreds of dollars, I can give you a like very long list of things that would be more appealing than like, I guess that's kind of cool, but
Right.
I'm not really an early adopter. I'm not really that person.
Yeah.
That stuff doesn't super appeal to me. And again, just the fact that they've like keep throwing weird, I don't even really think I would love a helicopter ride that much.
Yeah.
So like all of this is
It's a lot
like
of pressure too.
making me feel like I am trying to get roped into a scam even more.
Right.
Like when
They've
they're like
kidnapped you,
trying to
sort of.
sell you, I don't know if this is actually real, but I imagine when you get invited to one of those meetings to learn about like timeshares,
Yeah.
and then they're
Yeah.
like, and also if you have an American Express card, you'll get 50% off this off-brand of chips. like they just like
great.
keep throwing you deals that are like, I guess that sounds nice, but also what?
Right.
It's like just distracting you with like pretend rewards. So yeah, no, I'm not only am I still not sold, but I'm getting uncomfortable and feeling like it's getting worse. Guys, you're not doing a good job is what
The
I'm
more
telling
you pile
you.
on, the
Yeah.
worse it actually gets.
Yeah.
Oh dear. That's no good. Okay.
Suddenly, a red glowing phone in the helicopter starts ringing, and
Yes.
the government woman picks up the phone, and she's like, "Yes, yes," and it's clearly a very important phone call she wasn't expecting. And then she hangs up the phone and she turns to you and she says, "I did not expect this to happen so quickly, but that was a call from the United Nations, and we have word that every country with nuclear weapons has agreed to use the brown note bomb instead of nuclear weapons. And everyone in the world that has nuclear weapons is going to get rid of them. They're going to throw them into the ocean or the moon or wherever you put nuclear weapons when you don't want them. They're going to get rid of them and just use the brown note bomb, which you drop on a city and makes everybody poop their pants, I guess. Jeez. But it will not kill them. If you agree to this test, then they'll have what they need to sell this bomb to the United Nations, and everyone that has nukes is going to get rid of them and replace them with this.
Nukes? More like dukes.
Oh, God.
Oh, guys, I feel like you failed at this before you even started. Because here's the thing. Again, sounds cool.
Sounds cool. End of nuclear warfare.
Would be great. I inherently don't trust the situation, though, is the problem here. Mm-hmm. I don't feel a strong connection with military leadership, and secret military doesn't inspire in me ooh, cool, trustworthy. Mm-hmm. It doesn't make me feel those feelings, especially if they landed a helicopter on my front yard. I'm feeling violated, annoyed, disturbed, and distrust.
Yeah, those are bad feelings.
Those words coming out of that person's mouth, I don't believe them, is I think the problem. If it's just the scenario as you described, I don't believe her.
Well, I've got some good news for you, Emily. The woman and the man share a glance. They look a little resigned and they're like, well, all right, we gotta pull out the stops. Gotta pull out all the stops. And the man grabs a previously unseen zipper on his forehead, unzips it.
All the way down his body?
All the way down his body. And he is Lizzo.
Of course.
The woman grabs a previously unseen zipper, unzips it all the way down their body. It is Beyonce. And the phone that rang grabs a zipper at the top of it, unzips it. And that person is Judi Dench. And the trifecta.
There
and they say,
are.
all right, there's a reason we chose you. We are not a secret military organization. We are taking over the world. We are going to run this place with the BNB, and we need you to help us test it and implement it. We are going to demilitarize the world and make everybody shit themselves.
Everybody?
Well, everybody that's bad that
everybody
they think
that
is
deserves
bad,
it.
I guess. Yeah, it's hard to know. War is hard, but at least they'll be pooping, not dying. At least they'll be pooping, not dying is the slogan of their new world government.
Let's go, girls.
And it turns out Shania Twain is piloting the helicopter.
The helicopter unzips itself, and it's been Shania Twain flapping her arms very, very aggressively.
I'm in. Let's do this.
Next on the Hypotheticast, we do a segment called If I Were You, where we talk about cool stuff we found in our lives that we recommend to you.
If I were you, I would listen to a podcast called 20,000 Hertz. It's a podcast that is very similar to previously mentioned 99% Invisible. It is a show about sound design and where famous sounds come from, or how sounds have been used, or the history of certain rules about sound or implementations of sound. It is fascinating, and it's perfect for a podcast because it's sounds. You don't need to see them. I've listened to shows about art before and been like, I don't think this should be a podcast. Like, it's cool, but you're describing visual art, and I just don't feel like that's actually working for me. Something that's about sound, it's perfect. So the second episode of the show ever was about the NBC chimes. That doom that they played, and its history in the Olympics and its history as this iconic thing that is just 3 notes, but it's copyrighted and it's trademarked or whatever you do with a sound clip.
And it means
fascinating, and it means
so,
NBC.
like, everybody knows.
It is in there. It means NBC, and that's the sort of thing that is fascinating about the show. Highly recommend it. 20,000 Hertz.
Cool. I'm going to also recommend a podcast. This podcast is called David Tennant Does a Podcast With, and it's new. It is David Tennant, and he interviews someone.
Okay.
I started it because I like David Tennant's voice. And I was like, if I can just hear that, then I'm down. I have found them all to be very interesting conversations. They're predominantly actors, but not all. He's a turns out a good interviewer. And I think the key is just that he is interested in humans, and he
that helps.
picks interesting people that he's already interested in. And so I would assume that a podcast that David Tennant hosts, like I assumed, because a lot of times when it's like an actor or a personality, they also talk a lot about themselves. He barely talks about himself. He like really is super interested in these people, and that's infectious and makes me interested in them. And also his Scottish accent's super dreamy and
super dreamy.
Yeah,
no, it's just
it's
it's a really solid listen. I highly recommend it.
I wanted to recommend something that David actually mentioned earlier in the episode. And
the brown note?
He swiped it from me. Yes, the brown note. Recommend listening to it. No, this is Orfield Laboratories, which is the quietest place on earth, and it's here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I have not been there, so I can't actually speak firsthand about it, but it's so cool that it's here in Minneapolis.
Cool.
There's an article about it called Earth's Quietest Place Will Drive You Crazy in 45 minutes, but really it sounds like the longest someone has been in the room is for 45 minutes. It's not even clear if there was like a challenge
they were
to
driven
do it.
crazy.
Right. Maybe just got hungry.
Yeah.
Like,
does it say if they died after that or not?
they did die immediately upon leaving. Upon hearing a bird chirp outside, they dropped dead.
That makes sense.
You can, I think, pay to go in there, but I think it costs a lot of money. But anyway,
So if I were you, if I was rich,
if I were you, if I was rich, or if you want to help me break into the world's quietest room,
it's a good thing we have this on recording.
and steal some silence.
Steal it. It's valuable. That's why they pay you so much for it. You can't get silence these days.
But anyway, I just like that it's around me, and it has a cool name. What is it? An anechoic chamber at Orfield Laboratories.
Like
pretty neat.
anechoic, so like it doesn't echo.
Yeah.
There's
That's it.
Yeah, cool.
No echoes. So
that's
check
awesome.
it out if you're a Richie Rich, or just think about it if you're not.
If you want to find us on the internet, listeners, you can. We are, of course, on Facebook. We are also on Instagram, hypotheticast_IG. We're on Twitter at Hypotheticast. You could send us an email, hypotheticast@gmail.com, or you could go to our website, hypotheticast.club. If you want a little more up close and personal interaction with us, you could join our special Facebook group, which is called the Hypotheticast Fan Collaboratory. It's a good place full of good peeps.
Yeah, it sure is.
And leave us a review on iTunes, the podcast app, or wherever you listen to podcasts. This week we got a review from Rainy_baby. They say, every week I look forward to Wednesday. Hypotheticast is a wonderfully delightful podcast to listen to, always putting a smile on my face during the middle of the week drag.
Oh, the drag.
The word of mouth really gets the word out about us. Also sharing or interacting with the posts we make on social media. We do Twitter every weekday, Facebook, even on Instagram sometimes. And when you interact with it, it pushes us to the top of the feed that is part of your life every day.
It's real, and we're in it. Thank you. Thank you so much to Jaden James and The Hunger for their song Killing It. That's from their album Raw, and it just is just a jam. Thank you to Christian Hagen for the logo that he made that is the peanut butter to that jam. And thank you to you, the listener. Thank you for listening. Thank you for submitting questions. Thank you for participating in the things that we do. Thank you for sticking with us. Thank you for being your beautiful self. That's all. Just thanks. We have one last segment on this show.
Yeah.
And you know what it's called. It's called No Questions Asked. It's where we ask one question and no more questions. This last question comes from Luke Vanderzijden. Sound, silence, or the sound of silence?
Silence.
Sound.
The sound of silence. Bye.
Bye, friends. Thanks for listening.
I'm marching, marching. 'Cause I'm killing it. I'm killing it. I'm killing it. I'm killing it.
Listen to your mom more.
Yeah, you know what? She's got some good things to say. We've been hanging out a lot, and she's told me a lot about you, and you really seem like a problem.
Oh.